Well, it's week 8. It's top 10 power rankings time. We've got a lot of movement this week. Let's get into it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the DaBearsDen Network, an NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears First Focus. I am your host, Alex, and we are back. Took a couple days off to kind of mirror the Bears bye week, kind of take a little break and, rest up a little bit. And now we will be back fresh with the videos. We're going into week 8, which is crazy to think that we're flying through this season. But it is Wednesday. That means it's Power Rankings Day, and a lot of teams have moved. Looking at the list from last week, I think there's not a single team in the same spot they were last week. So a lot of movement. We're going to go ahead. We'll get right into it. And I feel pretty good about this list. There's some weeks where I'm not really too sure, but this week I feel pretty good about this list. And we'll go ahead and we'll get into it. The number 10 spot, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The reason that I have Pittsburgh at 10 and not potentially higher, despite them being 5-2, is because they've played one game with Russell Wilson. And while Russ impressed me, if you saw my picks video last week, I thought the Steelers were going to lose. I thought Russ was going to play poorly. I was wrong. Obviously the best offensive performance since Big Ben retired a couple years ago. 37 points, really kind of, after a flat first quarter, really kind of got back into it. And we really saw a lot of, what makes Russell Wilson, right? The reason I have them at 10 is because while I do think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a very good team, I think they have a really good defense, and I think their offense has a lot of potential. I'm not sure if this is going to be the standard with Russell Wilson, or if this was kind of like a coming out party, like an anomaly type game, right? Just because there hasn't really been film on him in this offense yet, and so on and so forth, right? So obviously, tons of credit to him and the Steelers and, the way they performed. And I do think that Russ is still a good quarterback in this league. But I have them at 10 just for now because I'm not really sure if this is going to be the standard or if this was just kind of a one-off kind of game/performance from Pittsburgh Steelers. But, Steelers are sitting at 5-2. They are 5th seed currently in the AFC playoffs. So, Pittsburgh at 10. Number 9, I have the 5-2 Washington Commanders. Now, Washington was a team that I picked to make the playoffs. I believe I had them as the 7th seed before the season started, and they were out of my top 10 last week. They had fallen out, coming off the loss against Baltimore because that was really kind of their first real tough opponent, and they lost pretty bad, right? But what they did this week with Jaden Daniels going down and Mariota still coming in and putting up a ton of points against the Panthers, right? The worst defense in the league. But, for a backup to come in and do that is really a testament to the coaching staff and the players around them and the team, right? And so while, I really hope that Jaden Daniels gets healthy because I want him to play against Caleb Williams this week. What they were able to do with Jaden going down and still just continue scoring on almost every single drive, I think is absolutely huge. And it really showcases the talent of this team and the potential of this team and this coaching staff with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury, right? So Washington at 9, they're 5-2. They're currently the 2nd seed in the NFC playoff picture. And number 8, just above them, I have the Chicago Bears. I firmly believe that the Bears are going to win this week, whether Jaden Daniels plays or not. I just think that the defense is going to be too much of a mismatch. The Bears defense is going to be too much of a mismatch for that kind of style of offense that the Commanders run. I think that Terry McLaurin's not really going to get to produce anything. I think he'll be, pretty locked down by Jalen Johnson. And I think that Caleb Williams has really been performing well. We'll see how they look out of the bye. That's the one thing that concerns me because the Bears have not won out of the bye under Matt Eberflus yet. And, off the top of my head, I think they've looked pretty rough in those games out of the bye. So we'll see what type of Bears we get. But if, I'm expecting the Bears to kind of continue momentum that they've been building prior to this bye week coming. And so I think that they're going to look pretty good. And I just think that, since they are playing this week, and I firmly believe that the Bears are going to win, I have them just a touch higher on the power rankings at the 8th overall spot. And the Bears are sitting at 4-2 currently. Just above the Bears, I have the Green Bay Packers at number 7. 5-2. They had, a really big win against Houston this week. An uncharacteristically bad game from CJ Stroud. Really wasn't able to get anything going, which is, a testament to Green Bay's defense playing well and kind of locking him down. I also think Stroud had a little bit of an off game. I think Green Bay obviously has all the talent in the world. We saw what Jordan Love can do. We saw it in the back half of the season last year. Obviously, they've got weapons. Josh Jacobs. They've got Tucker Kraft, tight end, who I think is a pretty good young tight end. Obviously, Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs and all those guys, right? And the defense has been playing really well this year as well. That was kind of one of their weaknesses the past few years, but they've looked pretty good this year. And we'll see if they can figure out the special teams, right? But the reason I don't have Green Bay higher, you might be thinking, man, how do I have Green Bay at 7? It's not because I'm biased against them, I promise. It's because of the turnovers, okay? Jordan Love has a little bit of a Brett Favre thing going on right now, right? He missed 2 games this year, and he's leading the league in interceptions. So think about that. I think he might also be leading the league in touchdowns, or he's second in touchdowns. So he's airing the ball out, right? The problem with that is you get the good and you get the bad. This game against Houston, Stroud, I think, had under 100 passing yards. Let me pull it up real quick. 86 passing yards, okay? 86 passing yards. But because Jordan Love kept making mistakes and turning the ball over, it had to come down to a walk-off field goal. Think about that. CJ Stroud had maybe his worst game as a starting quarterback in this league in his career. But because Jordan Love kept turning the ball over, it came down to a walk-off field goal. So that's what concerns me with Green Bay right now, right? You have the fireworks, you got the big plays, but Jordan Love is going to have to pull back on some of these turnovers because it's going to hurt them down the road. We saw it hurt them later in the year last year. I think it was against the Giants, right? Where they lost or they almost lost. And then obviously it hurt them in the playoff game against San Francisco. He's got to be able to protect the ball. And so that's my concern right now, and that's why I can't really place them any higher. Green Bay at 7. Number 6, just above them, the Houston Texans. And looking at this placement now, maybe I should flip it, right? I probably should flip it because they just played each other. But I do think that Houston is the better team. I just think that Green Bay played a better game, if that makes sense. But I do think that, if these two were to meet in the Super Bowl or they were to meet again, I think the Texans would win. I think the Texans are a better team. I think sometimes, teams just have off days or, just can't really get things going. And that's not to discount what Green Bay did. Green Bay earned that win. They deserved that win. I just truly think Houston is a better team, and I think that Stroud is a better quarterback. And so that's where I've got Houston at number 6. They're 5-2. They're currently the 2nd seed in the AFC. Number 5, I have the Buffalo Bills. Amari Cooper came in and got active right away, caught a touchdown. A rough, kind of weird first half for Buffalo against Tennessee this past week, but they were able to kind of turn it around and really pile it on in the second half, which is what you want to see a good team do against a bad team. Josh Allen's still playing really solid football, and the Bills are just looking like they're once again going to be another one of those juggernauts in the AFC. And the question will always be, can they get it done in the playoffs? We'll see. But as of right now, I think that they look really good. Josh Allen's playing some of the best quarterback in his career, and I think that's going to really take them a long way. So Buffalo at 5. Number 4, I have the Minnesota Vikings falling from the number 1 spot all the way to number 4. A really close loss to Detroit, right? A really close loss. But I just think that compared to the teams that I have against them, I think that above them, all 3 teams that are above them on the power rankings, I think would beat them if they were to play. And I think Minnesota's got some really good things. Kevin O'Connell's obviously a great coach. We'll see if this Sam Darnold level of play can be continued. I think as the year goes on, it might drop off. There's been a lot of talks and a lot of news going on that the Rams have been in talk with Minnesota about sending Matthew Stafford over to the Vikings. That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because if Sam Darnold was playing so well and they really believed in him, why would they want to trade for Matt Stafford, right? So something to kind of watch there. I think, obviously Minnesota has a lot of weapons. Justin Jefferson, obviously one of the best receivers in the league, if not the best. Aaron Jones. They've got some pieces on defense, but for me, the big question mark still is quarterback play, right? But Minnesota at 4, sitting at 5-1. I think if you were a Minnesota fan and you were to hear that the Vikings would be fourth in the power rankings, 2 months ago, you'd be thrilled, right? So Minnesota at 4. Number 3, here come the Baltimore Ravens, sitting at 5-2. They've won 5 straight games, which is crazy. They are looking really good. What they did on the road in Tampa Bay is extremely impressive, and the Derrick Henry show is in full effect, and he is really kind of putting in work there in Baltimore. And while in maybe some power rankings they're higher, I can't put them higher because the defense is suspect, right? Like we saw what they were doing to Dallas, and then the defense kind of let Dallas back into the game, and then similarly it happened again this past week against Tampa Bay, right? It was like 41-17 at some point, I think, and then the game finished 41-31. So defense is going to have to tighten up. They're going to have to cut down on some of the penalties. I think they're one of the most penalized teams in the league, if not the most. And that stuff's going to have to get fixed if they really want to compete for a Super Bowl. But Lamar Jackson is playing some of the best football in his career. He's the MVP favorite right now. And I said it at the start of this year, but this Lamar Jackson Derrick Henry combo is lethal. And it's very challenging to stop. So they are very dangerous. Baltimore at 3. Number 2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, the undefeated 6-0 Kansas City Chiefs. It's pretty wild, to be honest, that Mahomes can be playing the worst football of his career and be 6-0, right? And they added DeAndre Hopkins today. Let's not forget about that. So, yeah, I mean, looking at Mahomes' stats, right? 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's got a 82 rating, which would be the lowest of his career. 44 passer rating this past week against the Niners, but he wins the game, right? Wins the game because of the defense, and this is really who the Chiefs are. It's not the Chiefs of 2018, 2019, 2020, when they were lighting it up and it was a fireworks show. They are the play it slow, slow burn type, control the game, let the defense take over type Chiefs. And to be honest, that's probably scarier than the fireworks Chiefs, because those games were shootouts and the other teams had a chance if you could score points, right? The other teams can't really score points. And Mahomes is playing terrible, right? Terrible football, and they're 6-0. So when it flips and he goes back to who we know he is, who's going to stop this team, right? They're very dangerous. I think that there's a good chance they go undefeated because their schedule looking very soft the rest of the year. They have a game against Buffalo in there, and obviously the divisional games, which might be tough against Denver and maybe LA, but this team is looking pretty scary right now, and the three-peat looks like it could really happen. So Kansas City at 2, they are undefeated, the final undefeated team in the league. And at number 1, I have the Detroit Lions, who, as of right now, I feel like are maybe the only team that could beat the Chiefs. Detroit is playing extremely well. I thought that what they did this past week against Minnesota, going into Minnesota without Aiden Hutchinson, the last undefeated team in the NFC, and beating them is extremely impressive. I think Jared Goff is obviously a top quarterback. I think there's a very strong argument he is the top quarterback in the NFC, and there's an argument that he is the best quarterback in the league through these 7 weeks, right? The completion percentage is extremely high. He's protecting the football. He's making the right plays. They have the two-headed monster with Montgomery and Gibbs. Got a lot of weapons on offense. This team is really scary. They're extremely well coached. They are aggressive. They will beat you down. And, we'll see if they make a move at the deadline for a pass rusher. Me as a Bears fan, I personally hope they don't. I hope that we do. But, if they bring in someone like a Max Crosby or a Myles Garrett, I think that this team instantly shoots to the Super Bowl favorite. And Detroit is looking really good. So I've got them at number 1 in my power rankings. So that's it. Going from 10 to 1, Pittsburgh, Washington, Chicago, Green Bay, Houston, Buffalo, Minnesota, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Detroit. Those are my week 8 power rankings. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do I have some teams too high? Is there a team that I should have in the top 10 that I don't have in the top 10? Let me know. I love reading your guys' comments and hanging out with you guys. And like, comment, subscribe. A lot of you are new here. I see you guys watching, but you're not subscribed. So it would really mean the world to me if you were subscribed. And we're almost at 100 subscribers. I know that we can do it. And as always, I will see you in tomorrow's video for the game picks. Bear down. Have a good one. Peace.